Hey there. Whenever the seasons change, it's so normal for those of us with migraine to experience an increase of symptoms. It could be the weather is more erratic, and especially if you are living in the South right now, I know you guys have been hit with so much with the hurricane. Uh, Temperatures can change, barometric pressure can fluctuate wildly from day to day. And if you're someone who also gets allergies, all of that can exacerbate migraine. So I'm here today to talk to you about how to care for your migraine during these seasonal changes. Hey there, I'm Adrienne Delorco. I'm the creator of Yoga for Migraine and Beyond Migraine Coaching, and I come to you every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern to share free talks on migraine wellness, free yoga classes to help you live better with migraine. So I would love to hear from you in the chat if you are someone who has noticed that your migraine worsens during seasonal changes. Add it in the comments. Do you notice a certain time? Is it summer to fall or winter to spring or the summer? I know for me, summer is my worst migraine season, and we'll talk more about why in a moment. So today I'm going to be sharing practical strategies that you can use perhaps to more effectively use the meds that you have to help you during seasonal changes. You'll learn about Ayurvedic principles that can help you navigate as the seasons shift, and Ayurveda is a sister science to yoga, a great way to help balance in a preventative way to create health for your body and mind. And I'm also going to explain how to balance activity and rest during these seasonal transitions. Before we launch in, I want to make sure that you all know that I'm offering for the very first time in 3 years a live public Yoga for Migraine series. This is a 6-week series called Mellow Your Migraine. I first offered this in 2021. It was a huge success, super popular when I first offered it. And it's a way for you to get some live yoga classes every Monday. Plus, we'll have replays. You'll get an additional hour of yoga, pre-recorded, migraine wellness talks. So this is a beautiful way to jumpstart your healing journey, especially if you are new to yoga and you've been curious about how to practice yoga for migraine. So I will put that in the chat, and please reach out if you have questions, but I would love to see you in our series. All right, so when we're talking about seasonal changes, step 1 is identify for yourself which of those seasons are most challenging, if it's a certain shift from one season to the next, and why. So for me personally, heat is one of my biggest weather-related triggers. So summer, July is typically my worst migraine month. And I just have that pattern. I have documentation over years to see that is a pattern of mine. If you haven't been tracking your migraine or it's been a while, please comment in the chat self-care diary, because I can DM you my self-care diary that me and my clients use to track some of these very basic migraine changes that we experience, plus all the self-care that I help teach you to decrease your symptoms. So first, you got to know what season is harder for you and if it's a certain shift. So for many people, changing from winter to spring, they know they just get seasonal allergies at that point, or the summer to fall brings seasonal allergies. So understanding what is affecting you, is it the barometric pressure changes, etc. Then we're going to try to pinpoint how to solve some of those issues as a way to decrease migraine. So what I'm going to say next, please get your doctor's permission and consult with your doctors. But I'm sharing what is commonly recommended by neurologists, and also what I have experienced myself. So during seasons when you anticipate having worsening symptoms, talk with your doctor about temporarily perhaps increasing some of your medication during that time. That could be an increase of your preventative medication, but if you are below the healthy threshold of your acute meds each month, it could be that you just anticipate needing some more acute meds that month. For me, I just know come July, it's just very likely I'm going to need more acute meds. And I've seen the pattern for myself. Even if I take more meds that month, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm in medication overuse rebound. That typically needs 3 months to take effect. So for me personally, even if I have 1 month where it's a little bit higher than the others, doesn't mean it's going to stay there, and I typically can take it down later. So talk with your doctor, get there okay. Is it okay if I need more meds during this transition? Also, you can talk with your doctor about layering multiple meds on to get a bigger impact, especially if we're talking about acute medication. So I am a strong proponent of medicating early and hitting your migraine attacks with all you got to decrease your symptoms, but also actually decrease your risk of medication overuse. So when you take multiple meds in one day, let's say it's a triptan plus naproxen, maybe you even need another triptan later that day if the meds didn't help, that only increases your risk of medication overuse by 1 day. The risk, even though you took 3 meds, the risk is when you take that over 3 days. Maybe you did a triptan 1 day, the next day you did a naproxen, and the next day you did a triptan. That is what increases your risk. So it is actually safer, more effective to just layer on everything you need to really squash the migraine attack the day you get it, then drag it on. So that's a way to more effectively use the meds you have with your doctor's permission, possibly layering multiple doses on in a day, or layering different types. Common ones to layer would be a triptan, naproxen, and maybe even a little caffeine. Please check with your doctor, make sure this is not a habit that you're doing for months and months on end, but just a temporary thing. Get your doctor's permission. If you are someone that knows that allergies are what really exacerbates your migraine during seasonal shifts, then let's treat the allergies and really hit the allergy meds harder during that time and more consistently. Work with your doctor. Common over-the-counter ones might be something like Claritin, a Flonase nasal steroid spray. If allergies are particularly bad, you could look at getting allergy shots. But in my interviews with headache specialists like Donna Ionol, and I can, if you're interested in seeing that interview on seasonal allergies and migraine that I did with her, type seasonal allergies in the comments and we can share that interview with her. But she said really the better you treat your allergies, the better the migraine, and vice versa. So it could be a time where you're just taking your allergy meds more regularly, and maybe that means you take local honey, maybe you're flushing out your sinuses daily with something like a neti pot or a saline spray. All right, so that's for my allergy folks. Barometric pressure, that's a harder one, often for people to control, but there are some things that are out there that you might try if you haven't already. So one of them, I'm personally not one who experiences triggers from barometric pressure to my knowledge, but one thing I could offer, and they're not too expensive to try, are WeatherX earplugs. I just put it in the chat. And these are meant to adjust barometric pressure with weather, and also if you go flying in an airplane. And it also has an app that shows when shifts might happen in your area. Another one that you could ask your neurologist about is a medication called Diamox. This is something that's often prescribed for altitude sickness, and you might see if you know barometric pressure is a strong trigger for you, if your doctor would recommend that prescription. So once you've figured out what's your hard season, why it's your hard season, then you've got some tools here. For me personally, with the heat of the summer, I do try to acclimate myself to being hot and moving outdoors more, but I do that in a very slow way. So I don't want to go from being indoors all the time, having my AC at 60 degrees, and then going outside when it's over 100. I need to acclimate to that. That means maybe starting going out when it's cooler in the morning, when it's shadier, when the sun's less intense, not having my AC cranked up all the way. All these things will help so that that shift into heat is less severe. So I hope that gives you some ideas. Next, I want to chat about some Ayurvedic principles that might help with seasonal shifts. So Ayurveda is a sister science to yoga, and it is very seasonally based. It's a very personalized approach to health and prevention of health issues with self-care and lifestyle. Diet is part of it as well. With Ayurveda, there's many principles, and it's an incredibly in-depth thing to study, but very basic. We want to balance, one of the principles of Ayurveda is to balance imbalances with its opposite. So for example, if we're moving into fall right now, fall's going on, you think of the qualities of fall. It's drier, it's colder, it's windier, it's more erratic weather changes. So to balance that, which in Ayurveda you might consider a vata imbalance, then we want to balance it with its opposite. So the opposite of dry would be perhaps oily. The opposite of erratic and windy might be grounding. So those are what we want to do during these seasonal shifts. So for me, I'm trying to oleate more, actually bathe a little bit less. I'm stretching out my days. Hopefully you can't smell me over Zoom here. But letting my body get more oil as it gets drier out. It also means I'm trying to regulate my routines more. So as seasons shift, migraine brains don't like change. So the more you can keep a consistent schedule with your activity, whether that's work, physical activity, downtime, the better. And I know sometimes that's hard, especially if you are a parent and you're going from spring to summer. That's a big shift of schedules for many of us. But the more you can regulate, keep consistent, that, especially moving into fall, is going to help create that grounding for your nervous system and balance out that all these fluctuations that we're having. What are some routines that I work with my Beyond Migraine clients to create? It's yoga. It's getting outside every day. It's quality sleep. It's rest. All the basics that I know are often easier to implement in theory than in practice. And that's why I really work personally one-on-one with my clients to see what is getting in the way in their lives of creating more regular self-care habits. My upcoming my migraine yoga session, it would be a great way to help you keep more regulated during this shifting seasonal change. If you need details on that, check the comments. And it's also important as seasons shift, like I mentioned before, to stay acclimated to the outdoors in small amounts. Often that can be hard with migraine. But if you can get outside, even if it's 5 minutes a day, and so you're getting exposed to the natural seasonal shifts that are occurring, you just get more acclimated to it. It is less intimidating for your brain, and it's something that is part of nature, and it's connecting us to the natural rhythms of the world, whether that's, hey, now at this time of year, I notice it's getting darker earlier. I notice the mornings are cooler, and you can feel more connected with nature. Finally, how to navigate balancing activity and rest during seasonal shifts. I would recommend moving more towards rest when things are in flux, because it's a lot for our brain to process, and migraine brains are notoriously hypersensitive to change. So if you know this is a time of change, prioritize your rest. That can be your bedtime rest. I've been getting over a cold and a lot of family stuff, and and now that it's getting darker earlier, I've just been noticing I have been more tired, and I have been allowing myself to rest more, whether that's sleeping 8.5 hours instead of 8. Wow, such luxury. Or practicing my yoga nidra every day after work. All of this is helping me to recharge, to more easily navigate change without triggering a migraine attack. So to sum up, when we are navigating these seasonal changes, number one, identify what is the seasonal change and why do you think you're having a challenge with it? What part of the weather, the pressure changes, the heat, the storms, the allergies. Then talk with your doctor and get permission, get recommendations on what medications you might just need to temporarily increase during this transition. Step 2, create regularity and consistent grounding routines to help you feel more stable through your nervous system. So for me, right now, moving into fall, I mentioned I am having more food with oil. I'm roasting veggies all the time. I'm using massage oil. I'm even bathing a little less to keep up my oil. Another thing is getting hot water. Ayurveda is big on improving your digestion and doing that through hot drinks. So that's something you could add in. And then getting some exposure every day to the outdoors, even if it's just 5 minutes, even if it's just sitting on your porch. That's helping to connect you to nature and help those shifts feel less dramatic. And last but not least, please rest more. It is good to rest, especially when we are experiencing lots of changes. You don't need to feel guilty. This is going to actually save you time in the long run, because you will have less migraine attacks. You'll be able to recover more quickly when you're feeling rested instead of fried and burnt out. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this has been giving you some ideas of how to work through these changing seasons. If you are listening on the replay, add hashtag replay. If you're listening live, add hashtag live to the comments. What was your biggest takeaway of what you might try differently after hearing this talk to help you with the seasons? And if you need info on my upcoming Mellow My Migraine live yoga series, we start October 14th in just a little over a week. So we will see you then. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.